Okay guys, so we're just going to have a look at Haida neutral density filters today. So I've got my second one of these now. I've been using the 10 stop or ND 3.0 for the last year and a half. Was really impressed with it. And I got myself a 6 stop, so ND 1.6, and just to add to my kit. They come in these really nice packaging and small things like this, but I think they make a big difference, especially when you're spending so much on filters. So I've already unboxed it, but just to show you as it comes, just this box and then in this metal case here as well. So this is what the ND filter sits in. So there it is, and it comes with a spare gasket for the back too, which is really handy. Good to have. Nice metal case, keep it safe, all padded, and that's filter, so it's made of glass rather than resin as with some filters, which it's just better because you get less scratches on it, and generally glass is higher quality. And it comes already with a gasket on the back. Just make sure you can see that there. Yeah, so that's the gasket that's on the back, and that just prevents light leaks, which is especially important when you're using high stop filters like a 6 stop or a 10 stop. So that's the 6 stop, and then here's a 10 stop as well, which is essentially the same thing. Again, comes with a gasket on the back of it, and this one, because I got it so long ago, I'm guessing they've changed up their packaging, just came in this bag. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this one, the 6 stop, and I'm going to put it into my filter, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw it on the camera and take some test shots outside, and with the 6 stop, with the 10 stop, and I'm also going to compare it to my old 5 stop. This guy is a Formatt Hitech 5 stop filter, but it's a resin filter. It's made out of plastic, so it's not as good quality. So yeah, I'm going to throw these guys on the camera, and I'll show you the test shots on the screen. We'll talk through vignetting and color cast, which these guys tend to perform very well with. Now we'll just have a look at some of the images in Lightroom. Set them up on my tripod, try to keep everything pretty consistent. It is cloudy today, so the sun is coming in and out, the lighting changes a small bit, but overall it's pretty consistent. Also wanted a scene that had some shadows and some highlights, just so we can compare how it affects both of those, and to get the sky in it as well, because especially with landscape stuff, you have the sky in your shot a lot of the time, so you want to see how it affects that. So the one on the left here is the one with no filters. You can see here from the settings, it's just set up to get a nice kind of balanced histogram. And then the one on the right is the Haida 6 stop filter. So one of the things that I should note is that the 6 stop filter, while it's rated for 6 stop, actually gives me about 7 stops. And that's often the case with filters, in that they're rated for a certain value, but they can be a bit inconsistent. So if it's something that you need to know, that you need to know exactly what it's going to give you, you might want to do a quick test shot, and you can just count up the stops in between and see exactly what your filter is giving you. That way, when you're out in the field, you can calculate quickly what shutter speed is going to give you the same exposure as without the filter. Okay, so looking at the color cast then, if we zoom in here, we can see with the bricks on the left hand side, they're kind of a warm tone once this loads here now, and this is one with the 6 stop filter on the right hand side, and there's kind of definitely a bit of a color cast there, so it's kind of a bluey green color, and it doesn't look that great, but it's not actually, in practice, it doesn't affect my images that much, because I found that it's pretty easy to correct. The other thing that I want to compare is sharpness. So if you look at the details on the bricks, they definitely look a little bit sharper on the left without the filter than on the right, I think anyway. Obviously this could be camera shake, but it wasn't windy at all outside, and my tripod's pretty sturdy, so I don't think it was due to camera shake. There was also a mirror lockup and a delay, so there's definitely nothing from the shutter. So I do think that it affects the sharpness a little bit, but not a huge amount, nothing to worry too much about. If we compare now the shot without the filter to the shot with the 10 stop, and the 10 stop here is on the right, and this is the one without the filter. So if we zoom in here a little bit, we can see that the 10 stop performs really well with color cast. If you compare the colors of the bricks here on the left and on the right, they're pretty much the same. I was always impressed with the performance I got out of that. That's why I chose to get another Haida filter with the 6 stop. Also, sharpness wise, it does definitely affect it a small bit. You can see I definitely think there's a little bit more details here on the left without the filter than on the right, but again, I don't think it's a huge amount, and that's because they're both made from glass, so these filters don't affect sharpness a huge amount. They're pretty sharp. One other thing to note with the 10 stop is that you do definitely get a little bit of vignetting. You can see it in the corner here. The corner is much darker than without the filter, and down here in this corner as well. It's definitely a lot darker with the filter in it. But I tend to add some vignettes into my landscape shots anyway, so I don't really mind the presence of a vignette. If we could quickly compare the shot without the filter to the 6 stop here, there's definitely a little bit of vignetting with the 6 stop too. But it's not as bad as with the 10 stop, and I don't think it's that bad overall. Just quickly then, as I mentioned earlier, I was going to do a quick comparison between the Formatt Hitech filter as well. So this is an old resin one that I had, and it's one that I replaced with this Haida filter because I wasn't happy with the performance I was getting out of it. And you can see straight away here it has a really strong magenta cast. So if we zoom in on the rocks here, or sorry, the bricks, you'll see there's a very strong magenta cast. They're completely different color on the one with the Formatt Hitech filter than the one on the left here. One other thing that's very noticeable, I think anyway, is the lack of sharpness, and that's because it's made out of plastic rather than glass, and plastic generally isn't as sharp. So I think there's a bigger difference in the loss of sharpness that you get with the Formatt Hitech filter to the Haida filters. There's definitely a noticeable drop in sharpness here. I don't think it's terrible, but between that and the strong color cast, it's definitely something. It's a bit too much for me. Also, just to note quickly, vignetting, there's very little with the Formatt Hitech filter, so it does perform pretty well in that respect. The last thing then that I wanted to show you was when I correct for the color cast that I get in the shots. So again, here on the left is the shot without a filter, and I've corrected now the 6 stop, which is on the right, as best as I can in terms of white balance to just try bring back the color, the original color that's there, and match. So you can see now the bricks look pretty much the same color. It might be very slightly warmer on that, but that's probably actually due to me just not nailing it 100%. But here they look very similar. And as well, if you compare the skies, there definitely is a little bit of a difference in the sky, I think. The blues are slightly kind of warmer in the sky with the filter, probably again from me just overcorrecting it, but overall I think it's very similar, so it's quite easy to correct the color cast. And the reason I wanted to show you this was because if I compare now to the Formatt Hitech one, so I've done my best to correct for the Formatt Hitech just by changing the white balance and the tint, and I think if we look at the bricks, they will, once this loads, sorry about the loading time, if you look at the colors here, they're pretty similar now. There is still kind of a little bit of magenta left in the highlights, but I think the colors match relatively well overall. But if we compare, if anything, I would say there's still a little bit of magenta cast left in the Formatt Hitech here. But we compare the colors of the sky now. So this is the one again without the filter, and this is the one with the Formatt Hitech filter, and it's much more greenish tinge, and with a sky especially, that it just doesn't look natural and doesn't look very nice. So I would say that there's a little bit of magenta left here, and there's almost a lot less magenta up here. So one thing I noticed with Formatt Hitech is that it affects different areas of the photo differently. Not necessarily due to any orientation of the filter, but just between shadows and highlights into different colors in the shots. So this is why I had to replace it, and it's just something I wanted to note quickly while doing a comparison. Just to wrap up then, some of the images on the screen are ones that I've taken with the filters. Both the Haida filters, very impressed with them in terms of sharpness. They don't really affect the image a whole lot. If anything, I would say camera shake and things like that are probably going to be more of an issue with the filters than what the filters actually do themselves. Color cast then, they both form really well. The 10 stop especially is absolutely excellent. Very little color cast, as you can see. There is a bit of vignetting, but something that I kind of like, so I don't mind it. With the 6 stop there is a bit of color cast, definitely, with the kind of bluey green tinge. Again though, as we saw, it's pretty easy to correct, definitely when you compare it to the Formatt Hitech one I was using. So yeah, I would highly recommend them, and they're a lot cheaper than other filters like Lee, Formatt Hitech and Nisi. So they definitely come highly recommended from me anyway.